Today for our daily cancellation, I'm going to be performing another exciting fan favorite, the reverse cancellation. Now, this is usually the move where people are trying to cancel me, but in one graceful yet devastating maneuver, I spin around and cancel them instead. Today's cancellation will be like that, except it's an even rarer double reverse cancellation by proxy. What that means in this case, I will be reverse canceling not people who tried to cancel me, but who tried to cancel someone else, namely Rush Limbaugh. The cancel mob came for Rush Limbaugh yesterday, as they have countless times, of course, over the past 30 years or whatever it is. What they were angry about this time is that Rush Limbaugh called Kamala Harris a, quote, hoe, and said she was a, quote, mattress for the man she had an affair with years ago in order to jumpstart her political career. Now, the really interesting point about Rush saying these things is that he didn't say these things at all. In fact, the left claimed that he did, but once again, it was fake news. Rush merely read some news stories about how other people had said this stuff and were facing backlash. He didn't even say that he agreed with it. He just read it. So that could be the end of this cancellation. They made up a fake story about Rush, slandered him, lied repeatedly, et cetera, and so forth. Just another Monday for our friends on the left. But this cancellation goes deeper than that. Let us, for a moment, leave aside the fact that Rush didn't actually call Kamala a hoe or accuse her of sleeping her way to the top. Let us pretend that he did say those things, not because he was reading a news report, but because those were his own opinions that he was expressing. And in fact, when I first heard about this controversy, I was duped myself. I fell for it. I thought he did say it, but I was so busy not caring about the outrage that I never checked to see if the outrage was based on anything that had, actually happened. And it turns out it isn't. But as I said, let's pretend that it is. Or in fact, we can go with the reworked narrative from the media once it was revealed that the first narrative was bunk. They kind of reworked it. And now the headlines, like here in the Daily Beast, it says that Rush perhaps didn't call Kamala a hoe or say those things about her, but he did, quote, amplify, quote, misogynistic smears. He amplified them. Okay. Well, whatever the case, what a strange dichotomy. Leftists are claiming to be horribly outraged and horribly offended by the accusation that a woman slept around, used sex to get ahead, was, quote, a hoe. Yet it was less than a week ago that many of these very same people were celebrating the empowering feminist anthem from Cardi B that expressly encourages women to do and be all of those things. The song begins and ends with a man shouting the word whore, and we're meant to see the word in a positive light in the context of the song. The women in the song are taking ownership of it. They proudly wear the label. So what's the problem? Even if Rush did say it, I thought it was empowering. I thought it was a compliment. Sure, he wouldn't have said it as a compliment, but who cares? If you see it as positive, if you see a certain trait as positive and someone points it out in a negative way, why would you be offended? I personally like being tall. So if someone who doesn't like tall people came up to me and said, "You're tall," I wouldn't be offended or upset in the slightest. I know how I feel about who I am. I'm happy for you to notice. I would say thank you. The left here wants to reserve the right to be offended by so-called sexist smears, even while taking ownership of those smears and claiming that they're not smears at all, because they're good. So they say, XYZ is good, and then a man comes along and says, "You're an XYZ," and the left recoils, "How dare you?" This just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. This is the trick the left tries to pull all the time, though. They want at once to reserve the right to tell certain people that they can't say a certain word or make a certain accusation, while at the same time encouraging the targeted group to live out the word, to be it, to embody it, to say it, to proclaim it. They do this with men too, by the way. They tell men to reject their masculinity. But if you were to go up to a man and call him emasculated and effeminate, they would accuse you of a horrendous slur. How so? I thought you said it's good for men to be effeminate. As for women, what's worse, I ask? To call a woman a whore as an insult, or to try to convince young women to actually be that? The first is rude. The second is downright sinister, and certainly far, far, far more harmful to society and especially to women. So this really goes back to the old maxim about how you can't expect people to respect you if you don't respect yourself. The feminist approach for years has been to demand respect for women from everyone except women themselves. They want everyone else to respect and recognize a woman's femininity and dignity, even while working outright to relegate feminine dignity to the societal ash heap. But again, You can't do this. It doesn't work. Either being a, quote, whore is bad or it's not. I say it's bad. Either women's bodies should be respected or they shouldn't. I say they should. Either women should not be objectified or they should. I say they should not. The left and feminists and pop stars all want to answer those questions conditionally, tentatively, and change the answer depending on who is asking. But that's just another way of being a hypocrite. And for that, they are canceled. Canceled, canceled. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Wire, one of the fastest growing conservative outlets in the entire country. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and then subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our content.